Do you ever feel defensive when someone has an objection for you? Maybe you're in a conversation about your offer and they say something along the lines of it's too expensive or it's not a right fit for me. And you're thinking, wow, I just spent so much of my time, energy, and effort creating this amazing offer and you're telling me it's not worth it. And so there's maybe two kind of schools of thoughts that you have. Maybe on one side you think, oh, they don't get it. I'm gonna go find people that see the value. And then on the other side, maybe you're like, oh, what if they're right? What if my offer is too expensive? What if it isn't that good? What if it's not worth it? And maybe you're right in the middle, kind of caught in this in between of like, I know this is worth it, but I'm not really sure. And you start to doubt yourself and you just feel stuck. Well, today, what I want to reveal to you is that those objections are actually the fuel. They're the fuel to your sales, they're the fuel to your confidence, and they're the fuel to your conviction. Handling objections help you become so much more certain, and people love to buy from certain people. And I want to offer you kind of like a mini sales training today about really how to think about objections, number one. Number two, what are some mottos you can think as you're handling objections to avoid pitfalls that so many people fall into? And number three, I want to give you a method, a 3-step method that really anyone can use for any offer that you sell at any price point and with any prospect, because this 3-step method is going to help you get on the same side of the table and really enter into those objection handling conversations in a way that people feel like you are their teammate instead of their opponent. So if you're ready to be seen as that honest counselor that really wants to help other people win in the sales conversation, this video is for you. Let's go. All right, number one, your mindset. First of all, the most important thing that you can believe is that objections are good. They are so important to get up and out in the open and really talked about as much as possible. And when you think about objections as like mushrooms, when they're in the dark and they're undercover and they're hidden, they spread and they start to fester inside of people and they will ultimately kill a sale. But when they're up and out into the sunlight, you have the opportunity to handle them, which makes them go away. So you don't want to run for objections. You actually want to look for them. I want you to feel like hungry for them and you're almost like hunting for those objections. I find a lot of times people are terrified to get an objection like on the spot because they think, I don't know how to respond on the spot when someone is doubting me. But I'm telling you, objections are actually the thing that helps you stay on track in the conversation. I don't know if you've ever been in a conversation with someone and they're losing you. Okay, you got left behind a long time ago, but they are still talking about what they want to talk about. And it almost feels like they're kind of like indulging themselves on talking about whatever it is that they want to say about the offer. And you're on the other side thinking, okay, that's cool, but what about me? What about my business? What about my life? What about my questions? And that is what those objections are. They help you really stay locked in with the prospect so that they stay engaged and actually want to be in conversation with you about the offer. Objections are everywhere. They are everywhere. They are constant, okay? I think some people think objections as like very blatant statements like that's too expensive or that will take too much time or that's not a good fit for me. And those are definitely objections as well. But objections can be as simple as thoughts that people think are true. They are questions that people have, and objections are actually buying signals. So let's start with the thoughts that objections are. People have thoughts that they believe are true as the sky is blue. But what they actually are objections that's keeping them from either moving forward with your offer or keeping them from having the life that they want to have. I'll give you an example. We had a client who came in town for our mastermind, and it was such an amazing mastermind, and she was leaving to go back to the airport and she jumped in an Uber, and the Uber driver was asking her, what brought her here and what she was doing, and she was talking about her business and how she was here for, a business mastermind. And he made a statement, which is a thought, that said, I've always wanted to be in business, but I just feel like if you're going to do well in business, you have to be in environments where there's a lot of drinking, and I don't want to be a drinker like that. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, that's insane that that's his thought in his mind that's keeping him from going after business. So he's an Uber driver because he doesn't want to be a drinker. So that is a thought that is an objection for his own brain that's keeping him from moving forward in a business venture. Another statement that people say all the time to me is like, I really want to make more sales, but I just don't want to come off as desperate. They say that like it's just true, like all salespeople are desperate. So that statement right there, that is not just like a statement that someone says, that is an objection that it is my job to be able to handle so that they can be the person who is really excited to sell and knows that selling is good and noble. So your job to handle that objection is to transition those thoughts into totally different thoughts. So for example, the drinking comment, you would want to help them believe that I can do business in any environment. The salespeople are desperate comment, you want to transition to that and help them believe that, sales isn't about me, it's actually about helping other people get, results that they want in their life. Objections absolutely can be questions as well, and they oftentimes are questions. People often mistake logistical questions about offers as just questions that they should answer, but they actually are objections that you want to handle kind of like an objection. So for example, if someone were to say, hey, are there group calls in this program? Most of you watching this would probably just want to answer and be like, yeah, there's group calls, or no, there's not group calls. But there's a reason why they're asking, right? And we want to know why are they asking that? What is making that question come up? So if someone were to say, hey, are there group calls? You want to know, hey, I'm going to answer that question. I'd love to, but is there a reason why you're asking? They might say things like, I don't want people to know that I'm in this program. I'm embarrassed that I need help. I feel really vulnerable in a group setting. I've never shared in a group set. We just never know what might come up when they ask that question. But do you notice how underneath that question, those are actually objections? Like, I don't want to be vulnerable in a group is the objection that we're handling. Even if someone were to say, hey, what time do the calls start? They are wondering, hey, or they might be thinking, if it's at this time, I can't join the program because I've got to go pick up my child. And we don't want them to be having that thought. We want to help them see that there is a way that we can make this work, potentially, depending on how they think about the offer and the timing of the calls. Lastly, objections are buying signals. They are amazing for the buying process. Like when you get an objection, I want you to think, oh baby, we are on the right track here. And I'll tell you why. Like, when is the last time you've been to a mall? It's been a while for me, but I remember when I was in high school, I'd go to the mall and there was always these kiosks in the middle of the mall of people selling hair straighteners. And those people were aggressive, okay? They were coming after you to sell a hair straightener. They'd see me walk by, see me and my mom walk by, and they would kind of beeline to me to try to get me to come and see the hair straighteners. And I remember thinking, like, do not make eye contact. Like, whatever you do, just keep walking, don't make eye contact. Why? Because I'm not interested in a straightener, I don't want it. But if I was interested in the straightener, what would I do? I'd probably go up to the kiosk and I'd ask some questions. I might say, hey, how hot does this straightener get? Why do I ask? I'm worried if it's too hot, it's gonna burn my hair, or I'm worried it's not hot enough because my hair is so thick. It's an objection. Hey, how long is the cord? Why am I asking? Well, I either hate that my cord always gets bundled up in the bathroom, or I like to sit on the ground and I want to make sure that it's long enough. I might ask about different color options. I'm asking questions because I am interested. I actually have objections because I want it. Sometimes objections are not, people like not wanting it. It's actually that they want it so bad, they're trying to slow themselves down from the desire of wanting it. And so these are amazing, amazing opportunities. And I want you to be so excited when someone gives you an objection. They truly are gifts. All right, now I want to give you some mottos. Honestly, you could probably write these down and put them on a sticky note on your computer so that you can keep them top of mind as you're in conversations. Number one, do not project your own objections. This is especially when it comes to money objections. I see this almost 100% with money objections. Like, people will frame the value of their offer as it being such a good deal, or it being a very low price, or it being like less expensive than other things. And that's you projecting what you would buy. Reason for wanting something is because it's the cheapest, but you could be talking to someone who actually wants the best service. They want the highest quality. They want the most attention, and they know that the cheapest thing is not going to give them the most and the best quality service. And so really stepping away from what you care about and what your objections might be, and leaving that at the door and being so focused on them and really uncovering what are the objections underneath this specific person. And it can be hard to do that because, sometimes people have objections and you're like, that is a crazy way of thinking, because you would never think like that. And so it's just like, you're like, what? That's wild. But that's okay. You want to meet them where they are and really take their objection as it is like the truest thing for them. And it's like the most important thing for them as well. Another thing I see people do projecting their money thoughts and money beliefs on people is they actually call things expensive. They say like, this is our most expensive offer. This is our less expensive offer. And the truth is, nothing is really really expensive as long as it produces more than enough value than what it costs. And you really want to come from that place of believing that, hey, this is not just worth it, this is more than worth it. So if I were you, I would just remove the word expensive from your vocabulary. The next motto I want you to have ingrained in your mind is don't just ask questions about the offer, ask questions about the person. I'll tell you an example of a role play that we did in our recent coaching call. We'll call the two girls Illy and Ruby. So Illy was selling an offer on how she has a group coaching program that helps people complete projects within 28 days. And she was role playing with Ruby, who wanted to complete this offer creation that she's had in the back of her mind for many, many months, and she just can't seem to either start on it or complete it. So it was a perfect role play match. And Illy was asking questions to Ruby about the project itself. She was asking, hey, tell me about the project. Have you thought about the outline of it? How long have you been thinking about the project? Have you already sold the offer and now you got to create the offer? She's asking, like, it was good questions about the project itself, but I kind of paused her and I said, hey, Illy, let's ask Ruby just more about like her and what's in the way of her actually doing the things that she knows she needs to do. And so she did that. She said, hey, Ruby, what's keeping you from taking action on the project? And Ruby said, honestly, I know that the time frame in which I need to create this, it's going to be a very painful season. And if you notice, those two lines of questioning is going to take us two very different places. Illy asking Ruby about the project is we kind of get in that logical place of our mind. Okay, I really want to create a course and it's going to be, 8 modules and it's going to be, 10 sessions and I'm going to do this many, you get that logical part of your brain. But when we move to, hey, Ruby, what is keeping you from moving forward in this work? And she said, oh, I'm scared of the pain. Now we're getting into, okay, what's actually in the way of Ruby taking action? What's actually in the way of her pursuing her dreams? And so now that we know kind of like the real objection that she has, Illy was able to handle the actual objection, not just kind of asking about these logical things that are a little bit more on the surface. We're able to get deeper and uncover what was really going on. The third and honestly, probably most important motto that I want you to write down on a sticky note on your computer is do not assume their objections. Do not assume why they have them. Do not assume what's going on. We always ask clarifying questions to make sure you are talking about the same thing. When people miss this step and they assume, this is what's hard about being a professional, being an expert, it's very easy to assume. When you start assuming and you get it wrong, you go off on this conversation trail that they don't want to follow you on and you've lost them. So for example, this is going to sound challenging and this is where my method is going to come in just a second to be able to really position yourself in a way to ask these clarifying questions, because this is where people get stuck. They feel so nervous asking clarifying questions because they feel like they're being intrusive. They feel like they're being rude and they don't want to do it. But like all a clarifying question is very simple. It's just sounds something like, what makes you say that? Can you tell me more? Why is that? That's all that it is. And anytime someone has an objection, I want you to think like, okay, what's underneath here? So if someone were to say, hey, this is too expensive, I want you to say, hey, totally fine. Can you tell me more about what makes you say that? What makes you say it's expensive? And y'all, you're gonna have no idea what comes up. They could start talking about a divorce that they're going through. They could start talking about a surgery that they're about to have. They could talk about all the investments that didn't work for them. They gotta hire someone, they gotta fire someone. I mean, you have no idea where they're going with this, but you want to be sure you're talking about the thing that's in their mind, that's top of their mind. A lot of times it's actually not about the offer, it's about whatever is going on with them personally. And we wanna just uncover how all of this is connected. If this is uncomfortable for you, if you feel nervous and weird and you're like, how do I ask questions that are really, really challenging so I can make sure I'm not assuming their objection, that's where this method comes in. This method is a 3-step method. It's very, very simple, but what it's gonna do is position you as the honest counselor. It's gonna position you as their teammate, and it's gonna put you in a position where they feel really comfortable opening up to you. The truth is, fam, you actually really do need to ask some hard questions to be able to properly diagnose what's going on for them. Like a doctor needs to know how much you weigh to be able to properly, medicate you if you need to. And so they need to ask you, hey, how much do you weigh? And it's not intrusive at all. It's not rude at all. It's critical. And some of you need to be asking some harder questions like, how much money do you make? How much have you spent? What is your revenue? How much do you weigh? Like that you need to ask some hard questions too, because you are the doctor of this scenario. And in order to prescribe them the best offer that you have to ask those right questions. And it's not the questions that you're asking, it's how you ask it. You don't want to come off interrogative. You don't want to come off intrusive. And this method right here will help you do that. Okay, are you ready? So step one of the method is to cushion. A cushion is very simple, very, very simple, but I find that a lot of my students, they really struggle to remember this because they're so quick to want to just say what they want to say. And a cushion sounds something like this. I understand. I get it. It's a great question. Yeah, thank you for sharing that with me. Think about a cushion as a soft place to land, especially if they just shared something with you that was a little bit vulnerable. Just kind of hold space for them and just say, I get it. Like truly, I get it. And this is a huge piece of the pie that's going to keep you from being really interrogative and aggressive. So it's just a cushion. And next you're going to find a point of agreement. So what a point of agreement is not is agreeing with them. So I have studied sales for many, many years, and I see other, sales trainers, they actually encourage you to agree with their objection. If someone says, hey, it's expensive, they're like, yeah, it is expensive. Or, hey, this is gonna take too much time. It's like, yeah, this does take a lot of time. They encourage you to agree with whatever their objection is. And I would not encourage you to do that. I mean, maybe it works, and the people that I've learned from are incredibly successful, so it probably does work for them. But here's what I found. When you agree with the objection, what it does is it makes them focus on that objection even more. And what you focus on gets bigger. And when something is so big, you can't think about any other possibility for your life except for what's not going right. And so when you find a point of agreement, which I'm going to give you an example in just a second, when you find a point of agreement, what you're doing is you're getting on the same side of the table with them without focusing on the wrong thing, without making the objection much bigger, and you're redirecting their attention in a new way. So if someone were to say, hey, that is just like so expensive, you would cushion and say, I understand, in a point of agreement, which sounds something like this. I also really value where my money goes. We can all agree with that, right? I also watch my budget. I also love to prioritize things that are the most important in my life. 100%, I'm right there with you. Do you see how we go from looking at how expensive something is to, oh, like she gets that where our money goes matters. Having to do all of this work is going to be painful. I understand. Cushion, point of agreement. I also love to stay in my zone of genius. I also love to do what I love to do. I'm right there with you. Do you see how we're like getting on the same page here? And we're redirecting the focus, which is away from that objection. And then that's gonna open the door for you to ask that clarifying question. And this is where you're just like, hey, I want to make sure I am talking about the right things here. I want to make sure I'm getting all of the right ingredients to make sure that my sales message is perfect for you. So let's practice a clarifying question, or let's practice the whole sequence with a clarifying question. Someone says it's too expensive. I totally understand. I also really like to watch where my money goes, especially in my business. I'm curious, if you don't mind me asking, can you tell me a little bit more about what makes you say that this is expensive? All that it is. And notice how the tone is just like, I'm just like so curious here. Can you tell me a little bit more about what makes you say this is expensive? Like what we're looking for is, hey, what like happened in your past, in your business, in your life that is making you see that this is too much money for the value of what it offers? Let's do it for the pain one. Oh, doing all this work, it's gonna be so painful. I understand. I also love to stay in my zone of genius. I would love to know a little bit more about what you consider your zone of genius is. And like maybe we can find a way to make sure that the work that you do is in your zone of genius. Do you see how like exciting that feels? Like, wait, you're telling me I could complete this project and have fun at the same time? What? How exciting is that? Hopefully you can see that, after this video, that objections are your greatest asset of all time. They help you really develop a level of conviction and certainty, and you have a method now that's gonna help you get on that same side at the table. One of the things I wanna just kind of close out this video with, I had a mentor one time, and he said, he buys and sells businesses, and he said, you know what? The only thing you should be doing before you make $1 million is handling objections. And I was like, why do you say that? And he said, you just wanna get to a place where there's no objections that you've never heard before, because your marketing gets better, your advertising gets better, and really you get better. And what he means by that is like, the more that you handle objections, the more certainty you build and the more conviction you have, because you spent so much of your time really building a case of why your offer is worth it, why your offer is better than everyone else's offer. And the more that you build your case, the more certainty that you have. And I'm telling you, people buy from certain people. People don't want to buy from someone who has doubt in their heart, because that doubt that you feel is going to come out in your essence. You want undeniable certainty, and that certainty gets built through handling objections. This is just part one. We will do many, many more videos on handling objections, because I told our social media manager, I said I could probably do 10 videos of objections very easily. So start with this, practice this method as you're in sales conversations, and just notice how you're going to be able to get so much better quality information out of your prospect to help them make the best decision for them. Comment below your favorite part of the video, and I'll see you in the next one.